Let me tell you something that most people forget in the age of instant replies and constant notifications. Men don't miss what's always available. You can't create desire in a space that's already full. You can't make him long for you if he never gets the chance to feel your absence. It's not about playing games, it's about restoring balance. When you're always the one reaching out, always the one responding, the second his name flashes on your screen, you remove the mystery that keeps his attention alive. You become predictable, and predictability, while comforting, doesn't make the heart race. Think about the last time you really missed someone. It wasn't because they were texting you every hour or reminding you of their presence constantly. It was because something in you started to wonder, where are they? What are they doing? Are they thinking about me? That wondering, that delicious uncertainty is what builds anticipation, and anticipation is the foundation of missing someone. Men, just like women, crave that emotional pull. But for them, it doesn't come from constant attention. It comes from moments of quiet where your presence is felt through absence. When a man doesn't have to work for your time or attention, he doesn't value it as much. It's not his fault. It's human nature. We appreciate what we earn. And when he knows that you'll always be there, ready to respond, ready to give, there's nothing to earn, nothing to reach for. The attraction starts to flatten. But when you create a little space, when you stop filling every silence with a message, when you allow moments to breathe, he starts to feel something unexpected. He begins to notice the quiet. He starts to think about you. That's when the missing begins. You see, it's not about disappearing or ignoring him. It's about creating emotional space that lets desire grow. When you pull back just enough to make him curious, he starts to move toward you. He wants to re-engage. He wants to feel that connection again. And that pursuit, his natural instinct to move closer, is what reawakens his interest. But here's the important part. It only works if the space you create feels natural, not calculated. If it feels like a strategy, he'll sense the manipulation. But if it feels like you simply have a full, vibrant life outside of him, that's magnetic. The most attractive energy you can project is the energy of someone who doesn't need to be chosen, but enjoys being desired. When a man senses that your world doesn't revolve around him, that you have passions, friends, goals, and moments he's not part of, it reminds him that you're not his possession. You're a person with a life. And that independence doesn't push him away. It pulls him in. Because deep down, men fall hardest for the woman who makes them earn their place in her story. So, when I say men don't miss what's always available, what I really mean is this: don't try to fill every moment with reassurance. Let silence do its work. Let time remind him of your absence. When you step back, you give him the chance to step forward. When you stop chasing his attention, he starts offering it. You create room for longing, for reflection, for appreciation. It's in that space, when he can no longer reach you instantly, that he realizes how much your presence means. Missing someone isn't born out of closeness, it's born out of distance. But that distance doesn't have to be dramatic. It's not about waiting days to reply or pretending you don't care. It's about balance. You can be warm, open, and kind while still protecting your energy. You can be interested without being available every second. That subtle shift from constant presence to intentional space is what makes a man start to feel the quiet ache of wanting you near. When you understand that missing you requires a little absence, you stop fearing space. You start trusting it. You stop clinging to constant contact as proof of connection. Instead, you create a rhythm that keeps both of you emotionally engaged. Because when he can't always reach you, he starts to reach for you. And that's when he begins to miss you. Not because you're gone, but because you've reminded him that your presence is something worth craving. Attraction isn't built through constant comfort. It's built through emotional contrast. People don't fall for what they can predict. They fall for what they feel. And the truth is, men are drawn to women who make them experience a range of emotions: excitement, curiosity, warmth, challenge, all wrapped in authenticity. When your presence feels like a melody that shifts, rises, surprises, and soothes, you become unforgettable. Because you're not just another person he talks to, you're the one who moves him. Most women, when they really like a man, start to smooth every edge of themselves. They want to be agreeable, available, consistent. They respond the same way every time, say yes to everything, keep the tone light and pleasant. It comes from a good place, a desire to connect, but it removes the very spark that makes him stay interested. When everything feels predictable, it becomes safe but flat. What holds attention is the energy that changes slightly, that keeps him on his toes, that makes him think, what's she going to say next? Emotional contrast is what keeps attraction alive. It's the soft text that follows a teasing message, the warmth that follows independence, the sweetness that's balanced by strength. One moment you make him laugh, the next you make him think. You're light-hearted, but you also have depth. You can be affectionate, but you're never needy. That's the kind of balance that stays on his mind long after the conversation ends. It's not about acting like someone you're not. It's about allowing all sides of yourself to show. The playful, the thoughtful, the assertive, the calm. When he experiences those layers, he feels the richness of who you are. Men don't miss women who are perfect. They miss women who are real. But being real doesn't mean giving every emotion away at once. It means knowing when to lean in and when to pull back. When you express affection, it feels genuine because it's not constant. When you give attention, it feels meaningful because it's rare. That rhythm of presence and pause is what stirs emotion. You're creating a dance, and in that dance, he never quite feels like he's got the full choreography. That uncertainty is not confusion, it's chemistry. The 5 words you'll eventually send aren't powerful just because of what they say. They're powerful because of the feeling they evoke. If your energy is always the same, predictable, familiar, those words will land flat. But when you've created emotional contrast, when your presence already carries surprise and warmth, those same words suddenly hit deeper. He doesn't just read them, he feels them, because they're coming from a woman who knows how to keep his emotions awake. And let's be honest, men are emotional creatures. Even if they don't always show it, they fall in love through moments that make them feel alive. When you're able to shift the emotional tone, sometimes fun, sometimes grounded, sometimes mysterious, you remind him that connecting with you isn't routine, it's an experience. You become a break from the noise, a woman whose presence feels like both adventure and home. But there's a subtle art to this. Emotional contrast isn't about playing hard to get or being unpredictable for attention. It's about emotional texture. You're not sending mixed signals, you're creating emotional depth. You're showing that you can hold multiple feelings, care and independence, humor and sincerity, affection and self-respect. That balance is magnetic. It tells him you're not relying on him for validation. You're sharing your energy because you want to, not because you need to. When a man feels that, he begins to crave your energy, not because it feeds his ego, but because it awakens something inside him. You make him feel seen and challenged at the same time. You make him laugh, but you also make him think. You comfort him, but you also make him reach for more. That's the kind of connection that sticks. It's not intensity that keeps him missing you. It's contrast. It's the feeling that every time he hears from you, there's something new, something fresh, something alive. So when you text, don't focus on being perfect. Focus on being dynamic. Let your messages carry the same emotional richness you bring in person. Be light, be real, be unexpected. Because men don't miss the woman who gives them the same feeling every time. They miss the one who reminds them that connection can still surprise them. And when you master that emotional contrast, you don't have to force him to miss you. He'll miss you naturally because your energy lingers long after your words fade from the screen. There's something magical about curiosity. It's the bridge between interest and desire. The moment someone makes you wonder, they take up space in your mind. And when it comes to attraction, curiosity is far more powerful than confession. This is where the idea of those 5 words comes in. Not, I miss you so much. Not, why haven't you called me? But something that awakens that inner itch to know more. Something like, guess what I just remembered. 5 simple words that invite him into a moment without giving him the whole story. You're not demanding attention, you're sparking intrigue. You're creating an opening that makes him want to lean in. Most people think the way to make someone miss them is through expression, telling them directly how much they're missed or how much they mean. But real longing isn't born out of what's given freely, it's born from what's withheld just enough to stir emotion. When you leave a little unsaid, you give the imagination room to play. And imagination, when it comes to love, is a powerful force. It's what keeps him replaying your words, wondering what you meant, picturing your smile as you typed that message. It's not manipulation, it's communication layered with emotional intelligence. Those 5 words work because they're not about information, they're about energy. They carry playfulness, confidence, and subtle warmth. You're showing him that you're thinking of him, but you're not throwing all your feelings on the table. You're inviting him to participate. You're creating a small gap between what's said and what's meant, and that gap is where intrigue lives. When you say something like, Gus, what I just remembered, you pull him into your emotional space. His mind instantly starts asking questions. Was it something about me? Was it something we did together? That curiosity is the seed of missing you. He starts to recall shared moments, old memories, your laughter, your voice, and suddenly you're there again, not in person but in thought. This is the beauty of subtle communication. You're not forcing connection, you're allowing it to reawaken naturally. You're not chasing him, you're inviting him to chase the thought of you. When you text with that kind of calm confidence, it tells him you're centered, you're not anxious, and you know your worth. You understand that the right message doesn't need to be loud, it needs to be felt. The lighter the touch, the deeper the impact. But here's what makes it truly powerful timing. These words don't land the same if you've been over texting or constantly reaching out. They need space to breathe. They work when there's already a little distance, when he's been quiet, when you've pulled back, when curiosity has already started to build on its own. In that silence, those 5 words feel like a spark. They reignite the warmth that was fading. It's not a desperate attempt to be remembered. It's a reminder of the connection that's already there. Men respond to curiosity because it engages their natural instinct to pursue. They don't just want affection. They want to earn understanding. When you send a text that opens a loop in his mind, he'll want to close it. He'll want to know what you meant, what you remembered, what you were feeling. And as he tries to fill in those blanks, he becomes emotionally invested again. That's what missing you really is. His mind returning to you over and over because something about your presence feels incomplete without resolution. You see, attraction isn't about saying everything that's in your heart. It's about saying just enough to make him feel something. The right 5 words aren't magic. They're a mirror of your energy. If your message comes from a place of need, it will sound like a plea. But if it comes from a place of self-assured warmth, it will sound like an invitation. That's the difference between chasing attention and inspiring interest. So when you think about what to text him, remember, it's not about getting a response. It's about creating a feeling. It's not about proving you care. It's about reminding him what it feels like when he's around you. Those 5 words are small, but they hold power because they carry mystery, playfulness, and confidence all at once. And when you master the art of curiosity, you don't have to tell him to miss you. He'll do it naturally because you've given him something to wonder about. Every message you send carries a reflection of how you see yourself. It's not just words on a screen, it's energy, tone, and intent. When you text from a place of need, it feels heavy. But when you text from a place of value, it feels light, magnetic, and grounded. Men can sense the difference instantly. You can say the same sentence two ways, and one will make him feel chased, while the other will make him feel drawn in. That difference comes from the energy of self-worth. The most irresistible messages are the ones that sound like they come from someone who already feels full, not from someone looking to be filled. Your texts should mirror the way you live, a woman who enjoys connection but doesn't depend on it, a woman who can give warmth but never at the cost of her peace. That's the energy of high value. When you carry that energy, every word feels intentional. You're not over-explaining, not trying to convince, not trying to win attention. You're inviting. You're showing him that being in your world is a privilege, not a guarantee. And that subtle shift in tone changes everything. When a man senses that your attention is earned, he values it more. When he feels that you choose to share moments with him, he stops taking those moments for granted. A high-value woman's message never tries too hard to impress. She doesn't overcompensate with emojis or long explanations. Her power lies in simplicity. She can say less and mean more, because her presence carries weight. When she sends those 5 words, whatever they may be, they land with quiet confidence. He doesn't just read them, he feels the self-assurance behind them. There's something about that calm tone that makes him stop and think. It's not about mystery for the sake of manipulation. It's about self-containment. You're showing him that your happiness isn't dependent on his attention, that you have a life full of meaning, whether he texts back or not. And paradoxically, that's what makes him want to text back. Men are instinctively drawn to women who have their own rhythm, their own center of gravity. When your messages sound like you're waiting by the phone, he feels pressure. But when they sound like they're coming from someone already fulfilled, he feels freedom. Freedom makes him want to move closer. You're not creating attachment through control. You're building attraction through space. That's how emotional maturity looks in communication. You know your worth, and it shows even in the smallest interactions. This doesn't mean you hide your feelings or play cold. Warmth is still your superpower. It just needs to be balanced by self-respect. You can be affectionate without overextending. You can be kind without being available all the time. Every message becomes a reflection of that balance. It says, I enjoy connecting with you, but I'm not waiting for you. That's the kind of energy that draws men in and keeps them invested. Because you're not offering him dependency, you're offering him partnership. And here's the truth. People value what feels valuable. If your time, attention, and presence feel like they're easily given, they lose impact. But if they feel intentional, if they come from a place of choice, they become precious. When a man senses that your attention comes from desire rather than habit, he feels something different. He feels honored. He feels curious. He starts to see you not as someone who needs him to complete her story, but as someone he wants to be part of. That shift in perception changes the entire dynamic. So when you text, don't think about how to make him miss you. Think about how to remind him of your value. Text in a way that says, I know what I bring to the table. Keep it playful, keep it light, but keep it centered. Let your words echo confidence. When you come from that place, you don't need to overdo anything because your energy already communicates, I'm here, I'm whole, and I choose when to share my world with you. And it's that quiet certainty, the kind that doesn't beg for attention, that makes him start to miss you when you're not around. There's a quiet power in absence that most people underestimate. We live in a world where constant communication feels like proof of connection. But in reality, silence often speaks louder than words. When you pull back, not as a game, but as a natural rhythm, you give the relationship room to breathe. You allow emotion to surface, curiosity to build, and appreciation to grow. The truth is, absence is not disinterest, it's strategy. It's the space that lets impact deepen. When you're not always present, he has the chance to feel your absence and realize what your presence truly means. Think about music for a moment. What makes a melody beautiful isn't just the notes. It's the pauses between them. Those small moments of quiet give meaning to the sound. The same applies to attraction. If you're always available, always replying, always initiating, you fill all the space. There's no pause, no tension, no room for him to feel the pull of missing you. But when you create distance, when you stop rushing to fill every silence, you become more memorable, because the mind naturally gravitates toward what's not immediately accessible. This doesn't mean you vanish or ignore him. Disappearing completely feels cold. Detaching with grace feels magnetic. The difference lies in intention. You're not withholding to punish. You're allowing the connection to breathe. You're creating moments where he can step into the silence and meet you halfway. That's when pursuit reignites. When a man starts wondering why you haven't texted, when he replays the last conversation in his head, when he feels that subtle ache of wanting more. That's the moment absence turns into attraction. Men often don't realize what they value until it's not right in front of them. It's in your temporary silence that they start to notice the energy you brought, the comfort of your messages, the way you made them feel. They begin to recognize the emotional warmth that your presence created. When you step back, you remind them that connection isn't a given, it's earned. That recognition doesn't come from constant access, it comes from contrast. You give him something to miss by not always being there. The power of absence also lies in self-focus. When you pull back, it's not about waiting for his next move. It's about returning your energy to yourself. You reconnect with your own life, your passions, your friendships, your joy. You stop orbiting around his attention and start fueling your own glow. That energy shift is palpable. When you come back into his world, you feel refreshed, fulfilled, different. He senses it instantly. Your silence wasn't emptiness, it was a reset. And that makes him see you in a new light. It's human nature to be drawn to what feels slightly out of reach. A little mystery keeps desire alive. You don't have to overthink your distance, just don't overfill the space. When he sends a message, take your time to reply. When he goes quiet, don't panic and chase. Let silence sit for a while. The absence of noise becomes a mirror. If he's interested, he'll move closer. And if he doesn't, you've saved your energy for someone who will. That's the strength that comes from understanding the balance between closeness and space. What absence really does is shift the emotional momentum. When you're always giving, he gets used to receiving. But when you pause, he feels the change. The attention he once took for granted now feels valuable again. He begins to reach out not from routine, but from desire. He texts because he misses your voice, not because he feels obliged to reply. That's when you know space has done its work, so never fear stepping back. Space doesn't kill attraction, it fuels it. It's in that quiet distance that longing grows, that memories replay, that curiosity blooms. You're not disappearing, you're reminding him that you're not just another message waiting to be read. You're an experience worth missing. And when he finally reaches out again, it won't be out of habit. It'll be because your silence made him feel your absence. And that feeling reminded him how much he wants your presence back. Words alone don't make someone miss you. It's the energy behind them that does. You could send the sweetest, most perfectly crafted message, but if the emotion behind it feels needy or uncertain, it won't land the way you hope. On the other hand, you could send something simple, even casual, and it can make his heart skip a beat if it carries the right energy. Because what truly draws a man in isn't the text itself, it's the feeling he gets when he reads it. Energy communicates before meaning does. It's the unspoken tone, the confidence, the ease that makes him stop and think. She feels different. The energy that makes a man miss you is light, self-assured, and effortlessly warm. It's the energy of someone who enjoys connection but doesn't cling to it. When you send a text, it should sound like it came from someone who's smiling, not waiting. Someone who's living, not longing. That subtle difference changes everything. Men are incredibly intuitive when it comes to emotional tone. They can feel the vibration behind your words, even if you're trying to hide it. A message that comes from tension feels like pressure, while one that comes from peace feels like invitation. When your energy is calm and confident, you're sending a silent message that says, I'm good, I'm happy, I enjoy talking to you, but I'm not dependent on it. That's the kind of energy that's magnetic. It makes a man curious. He wonders, why does she feel so different? Why does her presence feel easy, not demanding? It pulls him in because it feels refreshing. Everyone wants to be around energy that feels good, and the more he associates that feeling with you, the more he starts to crave it when you're not around. That's what makes him miss you. Not the words you say, but the emotion you leave behind. To create that energy, you have to come from fullness, not emptiness. Before you text him, take a moment to connect with yourself. Don't message from anxiety or fear of losing him. Message from your grounded center. When you're happy, busy, passionate about your own life, your communication automatically carries warmth without desperation. It's why self-focus is such an important part of attraction. When you're filled with your own light, you don't need to pull from his. He feels that independence, and it inspires respect. This is why people often say confidence is sexy. It's not just about appearance, it's about emotional energy. Confidence in texting looks like not overthinking every word, not double checking for validation, not explaining your tone. It's trusting that what you send is enough. It's the quiet belief that if he's the right person, he'll feel it. That kind of ease radiates through every message. You could say something as small as, "You crossed my mind today," and it can linger in his thoughts for hours. Not because of the words, but because of how grounded they feel. Energy also means knowing when not to text. Sometimes silence holds more power than a perfectly written line. If your mood feels heavy or anxious, give yourself space before reaching out, because your emotions travel through your words like an invisible current. When you're centered, your message feels magnetic. When you're unsettled, it feels chaotic. So before you reach for your phone, take a breath, shift into your confident state, and let that energy do the talking. When a man receives a message from a woman who's comfortable in her own skin, it feels different. He doesn't just read it, he feels it. Her energy reminds him of peace, of playfulness, of emotional maturity. That's the kind of connection that leaves a mark. It's what makes him think about you even when you're silent. Because you're not trying to control how he feels, you're simply being yourself. So remember, it's never just about what you say, it's about what your energy conveys. When you send messages from joy, not fear, you become unforgettable. When your tone is effortless and confident, you give him something to feel, not just something to read. And long after your words fade from his screen, it's your energy he'll miss. That's the invisible pull that keeps him coming back, not the perfect text, but the feeling of being connected to a woman whose presence lingers even in her absence.